Hi, welcome back to the kitchen. Today we are going to do a treat for St. Patrick's Day that I've never actually had before. We're gonna make corned beef. For the corned beef, you actually have to prepare ahead of time. You have to let it brine in the refrigerator for about a week, 5 to 7 days, your choice. Then we're gonna come back and we're gonna roast it in the oven with veggies and just make it a delicious meal. So let's get started on that. To make our corned beef, we are going to use a brisket that's 3 to 5 pounds, trimmed, 1 cup pink Himalayan sea salt, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of cardamom pods, 2 tablespoons of black pepper pods, 1 tablespoon of juniper berries, half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 1.5 teaspoons of Prague powder number 1, which is a pink curing salt, 2 tablespoons of mustard seeds, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of ginger, 6 whole cloves, 1 tablespoon of allspice berries, and 6 bay leaves, roughly torn apart. What we're going to do for the brine is we're going to boil, which I've already gotten started, 1 gallon of water, and we're going to add all of our spices and our salts to that and let it mix until they are dissolved. Once they're dissolved, we're going to let it cool off completely, and then we're going to add it onto our brisket and stick it in the fridge. All right, we're gonna let this sit for probably about an hour or so until it's completely cooled off, and then we'll be back to add it to our brisket. All right, we're back with our brine totally cooled off, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but the reason that you want to wait for it to cool off all the way is you don't want it to be cooking your meat at this point, and the heat from it will start cooking some of those tissues. So you want it to just be cool so it'll start infusing all that delicious flavor into your meat when you're ready to cook it. I'm gonna put it over the brisket and then cover it, make sure it stays submerged, cover it and stick it in the fridge, and then every 2 or so days I'm gonna be flipping it over and just making sure that it's doing well. And we will pull it out on the 6th day is what I'm going to do this time around and start cooking it. As you can see, it's exposed just a little bit here, so I'm going to add just a little bit more water because it's not floating. Alrighty, we've got our meat fully submerged in liquid so the oxygen can't get to it. Now we're gonna let it sit and just absorb all of that delicious flavor, and we'll be back in about 6 days to proceed with the recipe. Can't wait. We are back and ready to continue our corned beef. I've got the beef here ready to be rinsed off, and I've prepared our vegetables to add to it so we can get it all thrown into a pan and into the oven. So I'm gonna bring this over here to the sink and rinse off most of the brine, and it's gonna go in this big Wilton cake sheet pan that I have. You're gonna wanna wash out your sink really well after this because you have been dealing with raw meat. To my pan, I'm going to add half of a cabbage, cut in a wedge. You can add a whole cabbage. I'm just opting not to because my pan will be too full. I'm adding some French fingerling potatoes that are mixed colors, purples and reds, golds. And then I'm doing some carrots from our garden, some celery, and some onion. And just treating this like I would a pot roast, kind of throwing everything into the pot. I'm gonna add some water. I am not gonna add salt because we already heavily salted in the brine, and there's pepper and all kinds of goodness in there. So we just want water to cook it in. And we're gonna slow roast this for 4 hours at 350 degrees. Add our water in here. How much water you add is completely dependent on the size of your pot, how big of a brisket you do, etc. I'm gonna be covering mine with foil so it's not gonna all evaporate out. It's gonna roast in, and that brisket's gonna do juices as well. So you do not want to fill this all the way up with water because then it's going to overflow. I usually go maybe about a third full of water when I do a pot roast. So that's what I'm going to do here. That usually treats me pretty good. So that was probably about 2 cups worth of water. As you can see, I'm crimping the sides with that foil to keep most of the steam in there so that it doesn't dry out. It'll really help give you a nice, moist, flavorful brisket at the end. All right, we are ready to put it in my preheated 350-degree oven. And set that timer for 4 hours. We're back. 4 hours later, I moved the corned beef up into the upper oven that I have because I decided I wanted to make some Irish soda bread and some shortbread cookies for our dessert to go with it. And I needed the taller oven. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out of the upper oven now. Looks beautiful. Let's let this rest for a few minutes and then we'll cut into it. All right, we have been letting this rest for about 10 minutes. So now we're going to carve it up so that we can dig into it. To get that going, we're going to trim off whatever fat we want to, and then we're going to cut it against the grain so that you have a better eating experience. This brisket actually turned out drier than it would have normally. I had a big mishap today. Unbeknownst to me when I started this, my pan that I've had for years had developed small holes in it, like 4 or 5 of them. And so it started slowly leaking out the liquid immediately, as well as all the juices from the meat. It made a huge mess in both of the ovens because I had switched it to the top oven. So we had to deep clean both ovens. But before I knew about the holes, I was trying to troubleshoot, wondering if it was the cabbage doing extra steam or what. So I removed the foil. And that's why the cabbage is browner than it would have been if it was covered. My last ditch effort was to wipe the bottom and then put it on a cookie tray to try to keep the steam in and see if it was holes. And sure enough, once I emptied it, I was able to hold it up to the light and I found the holes. So yours will turn out a lot more juicy than this one did. It still tasted great, but just wanted to fill you in on what happened. All right, Mr. TBK, you ready to try our first corned beef
Heck yeah.
brisket here?
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've enjoyed the smell all day long.
Has smelled good.
Mm-hmm.
And Cat's over here licking his lips. There you go, kitty.
Mm. I'm so sorry.
Making you drool a little.
Wow, that is really good.
Good.
Nice and delicate with the meat cooked completely throughout, but the flavor is completely amazing.
Nice.
I've had all sorts of brisket. Being in Texas, brisket is a big thing here.
Yeah.
So it's really good. I like the way it tastes. Let me try some of the veggies. Nice. Oh, are those our carrots?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
From our garden, the last ones.
All right, I'm not a big cabbage fan, but let me try some of this cabbage.
But it's Irish, so you gotta have some cabbage, right?
Mmm. Mix it in with everything. It's really good.
Good.
I like it. Nice and delicate. All the crunch has gone out of the cabbage.
Awesome.
It's more like kimchi that I've had, the
Softened.
softness of the cabbage.
Nice.
Thank you. Mind if I keep this?
Yeah, that's all for you. Thanks for joining me today as I tried out this new recipe. In fact, I wound up doing 3 new recipes. I've never done those other 2 before and thought I'd tack them on. But I hope that it has inspired you to do the same and maybe even try this recipe if you've never done it before. Have a great day.